Hey Aquarius, it's Empress Rose here. Welcome to your reading. These are general readings, so we take what works and leave what doesn't. And if I don't catch your storyline or wavelength on this reading, check your other major placements. We're starting with the Urban Crow Oracle deck for a more intuitive vibe of where we're going. And then we're going to move over to the Waite Smith deck for a more traditional spread, tarot spread. So the Waite Smith deck was, the artist for that was Pamela Colman Smith, and it's Black History Month, so we are celebrating that. It's the most iconic deck of them all. So, okay. I don't think this is you. I think this displacement here is there's going to be some displaced frustration and aggression. So that's when we're mad at something, but we can't take it out on that thing, like a boss, a parent, a spouse. And instead we take it out on something or somebody else. Like this reminds me of someone I knew who would literally go and yell at her barista when she was mad at her boss. So not great, but there's all sorts of displacement. I mean, you could be wanting something exciting to happen and sort of displace that on like some situation in which nothing exciting is going to happen, but you could be expecting it or mad at it or frustrated that it's not more interesting. But that's just what you want. You want this one thing, and you're focusing that energy on this other thing. So so some displaced emotions. It could be you, could be someone else. I'm saying why I think it might be someone else is because we have waterproof. You know, it's that saying like water off a duck's back. These birds have oil in their feathers that prevents them from penetrating and getting them actually cold on their actual skin. So waterproof is about nuisances and annoyances that it's just annoying, but it's not, there's no harm coming to you. You're not actually harmed. So it could be this displacement where you're not actually harmed from a situation, but you still have some emotional frustration about it that you take out on something else or project onto something else. So, and then, or it could be that someone else has some displaced anger, frustration, or emotions. It's not really about you or going to affect you, and you don't need to be too worried about it. It's just a passing storm, a passing emotional storm going on here. And it's not about you. If someone's being frustrated and angry about you, it's definitely not about you. That's the message we're getting. And don't worry about it. It's not going to bring you any harm. It might just be best to watch, listen, but not engage with. Of course, it's like the cat in the hat. Those kinds of feelings like just kind of get transferred from one thing to another thing. And so you may have to process someone else's displaced anger and frustration yourself. You may have to process that or risk taking it out on something else. Honestly, I don't really think displacements, I mean, it's like you're really mad at someone, so you go out. I knew someone that did this. Would go out and they had a little dish smashing corner in like their yard. It was a former basketball court. So, you know, it's not actually terrible to, if you can't, it can be a method, a tool to use. A tool in your toolbox of having to deal with your emotions is take it out on something that's not going to bite back or not going to be harmed in the process. You know, it's like this old abandoned car and some trash here. What's really the problem with these birds taking out their anger and frustration on that? So it can be a tool that you use. Better done consciously than unconsciously. So this could be, you know, you're experiencing some frustration. It's not really gonna bring harm to you, but, you know, maybe find a good outlet for it on something, you know, that's not gonna wreck anybody's day to do that. My favorite outlet is anger walking. Like, that sidewalk did nothing to me, but I am pounding it. So I like how this crow is just sort of in repose and like watching. Oh yeah, here's the rain. That's rain. There's rain here. It's Seattle. And it rains a lot. Doesn't harm me. Doesn't hurt me. Just roll off my back. I'm just gonna stand here. Let the rain fall on me. All right. moving on to your traditional tarot spread. This is your past, your present, your inner landscape. Okay. What's at issue? Your environment, your to-do list, and your possible outcome. That card just fell off. All right. Our major arcana here is the Hermit. So we're talking about some individuality being sought with maybe some alone time, some time away, a break, and contemplation of who you are and what you want to be. All right, in your recent past, we have 8 of Swords. We have this mentality of being stuck and being trapped. This is the I have no choice, I can't do that. She's literally free to go. She's not very tightly bound. Her path is not blocked, although a little sneezy there. But her path isn't blocked. She's just, it's all in her head here, right? She's not actually looking at the actual reality of the situation. She's more thinking about... she's not allowing herself to see that she's more free than she is. There can be several reasons for this. You can maybe, sometimes we get a lot out of being a damsel in distress. That mentality of come help me, I need help. So although that's so negative, I hate to, then people are like, well, all damsels in distress are just attention whores. And that's not the case at all. We have to be able to ask for help and say we need help without being told that's all we, that it's about something other than that, right? I think that that's been a very damaging narrative. But speaking of damaging narratives, this is a damaging narrative that you have in your head that you've had to deal with, of just like, I can't do this, I can't do anything, I can't move forward, I don't know how to do this isn't going to work out. And there's just it's the crappy mantra card of we just have some kind of habitual thought in our head that's actually very self-limiting. We're free to go. These swords aren't here. These swords are literally, their tips are in the ground. They're not surrounding us. They're just only on one side. So you're free to go. And I'm really seeing this card right here is this not real damage, not real harm. It's just an environmental kind of situation that looks a little more difficult than it actually really is. And there's no harm is coming to this in the same way that no harm is coming to her here. Not really. She could shrug off these bonds, much like this bird can shrug off this water and move on with her day. But she feels stuck. She feels trapped. So that mental trap is actually a stronger grip sometimes than the physical. Physical, we can kind of figure out how to get out of a lot of times, but the internal traps and the internal bondage can be harder. So, and then in your current situation is Page of Cups. You may just be starting to realize how your own mentalities have held you back. And there's not a point where this is a journey without a rival. Our mental and spiritual health is a journey. We keep going. We're never going to get there. So, but this is something you might be starting to explore and understand how in this situation, your own mentality and your own view of the situation and of yourself and your own power or lack thereof has been affecting this. So we have the Page of Cups. The Page of Cups is, what's her name? Isabel Radow Kliegman. Kliegman was what I was thinking, but I wanted to get the whole name. Isabel Radow Kliegman talks about these separation cards when the character is on a stage. That means they're not really interacting with other people about this. This might be a private matter, or they might feel a little isolated. There's something about it's not very well integrated into their whole life. They maybe don't share this with other people. So this Page of Cups has us a little bit separated. This is I think the only separation card in the court cards. So this Page of Cups, there's some exploration of how we feel and what we think, but we're not really sharing about it. We're more thinking about it, exploring it. There's been some surprising discoveries. Maybe the discovery that we weren't actually as trapped as we believed we were, or stuck, or powerless. We weren't as powerless as we believed we were. So there's some sort of tumult happening, a little bit of tumult in our lives, and you're looking at this cup in your fish, and you're like, That's interesting. I wonder how long that fish has been there. And so there's some self-exploration of how you feel, maybe, you know, the stories you've been telling yourselves, not talking about it, not engage, you're not definitely not ready to communicate about it yet, but there's a private sense of exploring and discovery and having some curiosity maybe about why have you been so stuck? Why do you feel so trapped? What was that about? What has that been about? And then we have in your inner landscape, we have this 9 of Wands. This is how you feel. This is maybe one of the things that you're exploring here with this Page of Cups, but it's also yeah. So there's again, we have the separation card, the isolation from others, from a situation. But there's also a sense of woundedness, but you're not laying down. You have to keep going. You can't quit the situation. So you maybe have felt that you were more trapped than you are, but it's not a situation you can kind of just leave behind completely. You can't just free yourself and skip away. There's a sense of needing to continue to fight this fight. And maybe it's the fighting your own mentality and fighting your own headspace, and having to keep going, and having to keep working on something, like I was saying, a journey without a rival. Even though you're wounded, even though you're tired and you'd like to you know, be discharged from the army here, discharged from this battle and go home and rest, you can't do that. So you're going to continue fighting. And you might be worried about this, like, how long do I have to keep fighting like these battles, or how long do I have to keep doing this? And this card, and you might be afraid of that and worried that it's just forever, you know, no real opportunity for healing. You just get back out there and keep going and keep fighting for you know, what you want, or your survival, or you know, this card always reminds me of a phrase, I've lived to fight another day. And that's been a helpful phrase for me many times when things haven't necessarily gone my way. At least I survived it, and I can keep going, keep moving, keep growing. So so there is this sense in this, like, okay, maybe this hasn't gone perfectly or exactly the way you wanted, but you're still here, you're still fighting. You may be exhausted, but you still have an opportunity to keep growing and keep moving and keep going. So it's your hopes and fears column. So it looks like you might be both hopeful that you can keep going, but also worried, like, about not having a chance to rest and recover, not having a chance to heal from something before you have to get back out there and keep going. What's at issue here is this 8 of Cups reversed. So something's calling you forward, and so in the upright, the 8 of Cups would be about, you know, really seeing that there's more emotional fulfillment available with a different situation. You're going off like 8 of Cups. Yeah, I've got everything. I've got my food. I've got my shelter, but this isn't enough. This should be enough, but it isn't enough for me. In the Capricorn reading, this came up too. It's just this idea of, you know, crappy advice from people that have given up, that aren't like that aren't 9 of Wands. They have given up, they've quit, and then they're very interested in giving you advice of just like, yeah, that's just how it is, and you just have to get used to that, and there's a certain sense of that, but then sometimes I'm just surprised and shocked at the advice I took from people who are dead inside or half alive, are not living lives that I find interesting, or in relationships that I find interesting or compelling, right? So this is like, when the card is upright, it's like, okay, maybe this is fine for you, but I can't live like this, and I have to go find something fulfilling. And my intuition is here telling me that there is more to life than this. There's more to my life, at least. Maybe you're happy here, and how do I know? Except for you can see it in the eyes. How do I know, you know, what, if you're, you know, this situation may actually work fine for some people, but it's not. So in the reverse, we're talking about either not really getting a real intuitive pull or a real pull towards something better. Maybe knowing that this isn't enough, but not knowing where to go. What direction do you head off in search of this more fulfilling thing? What direction do you go? Normally I see this as like something, because we have a couple leaving cards in the tarot, right? Some of them are, I don't know, I don't care where I'm going, it's just not this anymore. But this one seems to have something out there that's clear that you want, and you're like, I think this is going to be much better for me, so I have to move on, right? There's a clarity there, or at least some kind of hunch there that something better. So either you're not getting the hunch of what direction exactly do you go in for a more fulfilling situation, or you have a hunch and you haven't moved on it. You're not going there. And I feel like maybe this Page of Cups could be the hunch that you're getting, because that could be one of your cups here that you're going in search of. And you found it, and so you might be exploring this very privately about what you might want, where you might want to go, and then but you haven't taken moves to get there or to go there yet. But you might be having a more specific idea of what's drawing you. In your environment, you have, everybody's favorite card, Seven of Swords, sneaky behavior. So swords representing, again, we have separation, someone that's sort of outside the flow of life, outside the, they're operating outside the rules here. They're operating outside, we have this, this sort of battle encampment. Swords represent ideas, communication, and there's someone sneaking off with it. So, this is a way to shut down a battle. You want to shut down a battle? Don't talk about it. You want to shut down a battle? Lie. You want to shut down something? There's these, sneaky ways, sort of outside the rules of engagement that people can sometimes engage in. And sometimes it's necessary, and sometimes it's cruel. Like, it's just depends a lot on your perspective and a lot on the mental health of everybody involved. So, but someone might be trying to get away with something around you. They might be trying to shut down what should be an open discussion, shutting it down either by lying or by being sneaky or by silent treatment or something like that. They could be trying to shut down a battle because, there's a chance they could lose, right? So just shut it down before you're actually tested, and what you're made of is actually tested and actually figured out. Just shut it down by whatever means necessary. And if that means not playing by the rules, that means not playing by the rules then. Because you want to win, you want to win. So all's fair in love and war. This person in your environment believes that. So they're bending the rules to suit themselves. And they could be engaging in silent treatment, which is harsh and abusive, except there are these exceptions when the other person never, there's exceptions to all of this. So, but this person's trying to get away with something. They don't want open conflict because they know there's a good chance they'll lose it. So they're trying to be, so they're playing outside the rules, outside the bounds of the rules of engagement here. And doing something else. So that's in your environment. I wish it came with a name, a number, and a date of when this person was doing this or what's going on here. But yep, that's what's in your environment. So here's your to-do list, the Hermit card. Which I find interesting because we have these we have 4 isolation cards or 4 separation cards. So we have this Page of Cups here, very privately exploring some sort of new idea or some sort of new feelings. We have this feeling set apart by an injury or a wound and not quite part of the whole, a fully functioning member of battle, but a wounded and set apart in that way. And then we have the Hermit card here. So the Hermit card is about, finding our own inner light, our own path, our own very unique path. In one of my decks, we have St. Francis of Assisi as the Hermit, someone who lived an incredibly unique life and was able to follow his own unique path, which got him into a lot of trouble and a lot of difficulty, but then eventually sainthood. So we have this hermit, and the hermit can't see very far in advance. He's got just a little lantern. He's got, in this card, in this deck, we have the star here. This is his own North Star. It doesn't broadcast a million miles out. It's just 1 foot, and he's just looking at his next step. So this is taking some time, little steps, pacing. It reminds me of one of my favorite quotes right now, a Thich Nhat Hanh quote, of course. We will walk, we will only walk, we will enjoy our walk without thinking of arriving anywhere. Again, this idea of not necessarily needing to arrive somewhere, but just walk. A nice pace, a nice slow pace, looking at our next step and not needing to run ahead, not needing to have the grand vision, but looking at our next step. And it's a very unique next step. It's unique to you. It's your next step. So looking at your next step, not questing for the giant overall vision, but just understanding, not necessarily, you know, running down this path, but taking the next step towards moving towards something that you is going to bring you more satisfaction and more fulfillment. So just step by step is what I'm seeing with this Hermit card in your direction. And then what we have here where we're possibly going is Six of Pentacles. This is a card of generosity, reciprocity, the flow of generosity, waiting your turn for things to be balanced. There's a lot of like sort of karmic balance with this card as far as like you'll get your turn and waiting patiently for your turn and your time and your opportunities. And also just there's a calculation, a balancing, an evenness. The flow evens out eventually. So so waiting sort of expectantly or understanding, waiting for your opportunity, waiting for your chance, waiting for some sort of generosity. This can also be you being generous and giving, you know, as you see fit. This again is a separation card. So there's a situation here that it's not necessarily within the flow of life, but there is flow here anyway. There's this own internal logic going on in this distribution of resources and waiting your turn. So you're not like in the thick of something right now, but you are waiting your turn. And so, you know, you just gotta, you're making your next steps and understanding that there's a flow of resources, that, you know, money and resources can flow like water, and there's moments of rushing and moments of trickling. So, so understanding that flow. All right, Aquarius, I hope that this was helpful for you. And we're doing fortnightly readings, so I'll see you in a couple weeks.